Hey, what does it do to you when someone looks at you and says you are boring, you are uninteresting, you are not a nice person? How do you feel? Okay, hold that thought. Just hold on to that thought. What does it do to you when someone says you're not a woman? Do you feel like it may be correct? Is it true? Do you feel bad, or do you wonder, are you okay? If I'm not a woman, what am I going to be? Now, insecurity comes from a position where what you are already thinking in your heart is attacked. Whenever someone says, "Oh, you are not interesting," you're not a nice person, that begins to affect you only when you think it may be true, or this person might have some facts to it. That's when you start thinking about it. That's when it starts affecting you. So it goes to say that insecurity may have a root cause. One of the root causes of insecurity may come from a loss of identity. If someone says you're not a woman and you don't feel anything about it, you don't feel like you need to prove it to the person, you don't feel like the person has said anything, in fact, you want to start checking the status of that person, it's because you are confident. It's because you are sure. You are so sure you are a woman that anybody that thinks otherwise, that person has a problem. But when we start talking about other things like, you are not even a good person, you are not even hardworking, you start feeling doubts. Those doubts come because you are not as sure of your identity as a hard worker as you are sure of your identity as a woman. So where does identity come from? Where do you go get identity? I'm going to give you 3 places that you can walk about your identity. The first thing you can do about your identity is that you want to get it from somewhere foundational. You want to get it from somewhere firm. You want to get it from something irrefutable. I'm a Christian, so I'll tell you right away, I'll tell you this for free, that you can go search out your identity in the Word of God. You can go figure out what God says about you, what God thinks about you. Okay? And you need to accept that. You don't only need to accept that, you need to believe it. Okay? You need to believe it so doggedly that it becomes your go-to. Some people, you found out foundational identity in what maybe your parents have told you, in the manner that they have raised you. Okay? Others find it somehow in society. But the problem with getting that foundational identity from somewhere that is not so strong is that if it is from people's opinions, what happens when those opinions shift? What happens when they change their mind? If your identity was from your dad, what happens when he gets angry and say you are useless after all? So you need to get a strong foundational identity from something that does not change. After you have done that, you need to start building an internal identity. This is not from something foundational. This is from inside. Of course, if you have believed something foundational, then it is easy to start walking the internal identity. The internal identity is just about sitting down and saying, I am this kind of person. I am a well-read person. I am a leader kind of woman. I am an educated person. Okay? You picture that identity and then you start walking towards it. If you say, I'm the kind of leader, then you start exhibiting leadership behaviors. If you say you are a well-read woman, then you start reading. Okay? If you say, I'm a good mother, that's an identity you want to associate with. Then you figure out how do good mothers behave, and then you start working, and every day. And then sometimes you are going to sleep. But because you have identified yourself as this kind of person, you autocorrect back. And finally, it's not bad to seek external validation, right? No matter how strong your internal identity is, if everybody around you says otherwise, you want to stop and think. But it should be the last one. It should not be the foundational identity. It should not be what you imbibe as your internal identity, but there is a place for the external validation of an identity. At the time, it has to matter what people think about it. So by the time you've gotten the foundational identity, you are so sure about it, you are so, accepting of it, and then you start working on internal identity, it won't be long. People are going to say, oh, this is what you do. Okay? So you take that as a feedback. And then if it affirms your internal identity, if it is what you want to do more of it. If people don't think that despite your attempts at an internal identity, despite those attempts, you do not fit a particular identity, the identity you want to fit into, then you want to start auto-correcting. It matters that people think in a certain way. But what matters more is when you get your foundational identity, the internal identity you are working on becoming, that you believe to be your identity and you are working towards, okay? Those are the two most important ones. But an external validation counts. You cannot completely discount external validation, right? So that's where identity comes from. And once that identity is shown, right, I can see from body word that there is a woman. I am meant to be a woman of grace, right? And then I start working towards it. I start building my internal identity towards it. And then someone says, oh, this is nice, beautiful. Sometimes I can continue working on the two, just the foundational and internal identity, until the external identity comes along. So that is something I can choose to do. Sometimes I can choose to just hold on to the foundational identity until the other two come along. But it is only rounded, and identity is only complete if also the external people can look by and say, oh, there goes a nice woman. Oh, there goes a hardworking woman. It helps. It makes it complete. Right? So that's where identity comes from. Okay? Follow for more of this. This is Oluchi, and we are here in Women in Leadership. Have a great time.